Hello and welcome to Movie Versus. This is the show where I take two similar yet also very different films, compare the two, and decide which of the two is the best one. Today's episode is going to be a bit of a doozy because we're talking about two iconic titans of cinema. Godzilla of Japan and King Kong of America. Or Godzilla from 1954 versus King Kong of 1933. If you haven't watched the show already, you should know that I decide which of these two films work best by dividing several aspects of them into 7 distinct categories: star, co-stars, music, cinematography, writing, direction. All of them culminates into one final category: the best picture. This is, I don't know where to begin with this, to be honest with you, because we're talking about a kaiju size undertaking here. I mean, like, where do I need to begin here? Like, where do I even begin? Do I mention the fact that both films have started not just their own respective franchises, but came together to become one major franchise? But not only that, but these two are essentially responsible for an entire genre of film that is kaiju disaster films. It's quite amazing that we've gotten so far with both franchises, honestly. But which of the two is the best? That's what we're going to decide. So let's start off by talking about the stars of the show, or I guess you could say the beasts of the show. Godzilla versus King Kong. Now, to say which monster had the better impact, I can't really decide, to be honest with you. Mostly because of, well, they both had their equal share. Like, they both had their equal amounts of high praise and moments here and there. Like, from Godzilla raining down on Tokyo to King Kong climbing up the empire. It's just, I'm stuck here. I'm legit stuck here. So that's why I'm going to have to give the point to both of them. I think they both nailed their respective star attractions, if you will. But I can't say the same about the co-stars, the human characters, if you will. They are the co-stars here. And honestly, while Dr. Zarazawa, I appreciate his uniqueness, his mysticism, you just can't go wrong with Andero. Now, personally, I prefer the version from the Peter Jackson version, but I'm not talking about the remakes or sequels or none of that. I'm solely talking about the original films, as I just stated. And yeah, it's impossible to think about King Kong without thinking about Anne, played wonderfully by Fay Ray. I think it is, it's impossible to even discuss which of the two had the bigger impact in terms of iconography. And like I said, Serizawa was fine, but when I think of Godzilla, I don't think of Serizawa. I think of the rain on Tokyo. I think of that creepy choir moment. I think of Godzilla's iconic look and iconic roar. I don't think of Serizawa. Meanwhile, King Kong, I like him grabbing Anne on various scenes. It's an iconic image. So yeah, I have to give it to King Kong. Now, for the music, it I'm not gonna play the music from both films because I don't want to risk copyright. Okay, but I will say, as much as I appreciate Max Steiner for his original work on King Kong, there's just something about Akira's work with Godzilla. It's not only iconic as hell to the point where a bunch of remakes, renditions, and parodies of this iconic theme, but it's also one of the most haunting themes ever. It's the way it starts off with that wah, 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 wah. Like the minute you hear that, you know what's about to happen. It is always gratifying to hear. So for that alone, I have to give it to Godzilla. Godzilla had the better music in my opinion. But let's talk about the cinematography. The cinematography for both films is just like they're both black and white creature features, sure, but the way they implement their footage speaks a lot of what kind of story they're both trying to tell. The dark, foreboding, and downright depressing atmosphere that Godzilla brings, and what he is supposed to represent, which is you know the reaction to what happened towards the end of the Second World War. It is haunting. And as I mentioned before, there was that creepy choir moment in the original film that just like they don't treat this as a a B grade movie monster mash. They treat it as if this creature, this symbol of destruction, could actually exist. And that's incredible. But there's something about Harryhausen's iconic work here. It can't be replicated. No matter how many attempts, no matter how many remakes, no matter the special effects, the CGI, and all that, nothing could compare to this iconic work here. It is breathtaking. Various shots from the island to the initial first appearance of Kong to this, I can't really decide one over the other in this regard. So I'm going to give it to both of them. Both have equal amounts of amazing, eye popping, chilling, bone chilling cinematography that, despite the time these two movies came from, it still holds up. And I'm making this video in the year 2024, folks. That's how iconic these two are. But what about the writing? The writing, as much as I appreciate Godzilla for what it was trying to tell, you know for a fact that like there wasn't a whole lot of character development behind it. All you needed to see is the wrath and destruction that this creature, this Godzilla, could do. You know, but King Kong had a much tighter script. It had a much more. It had actual human characters that you could look at and kind of relate to a little bit. The need to make a film to make it big in Hollywood, and you can also relate to King Kong, where like he is this giant creature that is respected on one island, but not so much on the other. It is a really well thought out, thought provoking drama, if you really think about it. Yeah, there's a lot of special effects moments with the stop motion animation on Kong, but if you really get down to it, it's more or less more of a tragic romance rather than a full blown action monster movie. So for that alone, I got to give it to King Kong. But for the direction, however, the direction, like King Kong had the better story. King Kong had the better story, but Godzilla had the better direction because, like I said, they did. Ishiro Honda's iconic work made it look real. Like the various shots, the various moments of destruction, to the various reactions of the Japanese people regarding this creature, it feels real. It feels like this could actually be real. You know, the sense of immersion alone is hands down impressive. And this came out in 1954. That's incredible. So I gotta give it to Godzilla. And I'm pretty sure you know what this means. Movie Versus actually has its first ever tie. They're both the best picture. They're both iconic. They both have their moments. Obviously, I prefer a couple of things from Godzilla over King Kong, vice versa. But I can't really decide which of the two is the best. It's really impossible for me to decide, which is where you come in, audience. For those who watch this episode, which film did you think was the better film? Did you prefer Godzilla or King Kong, or do you love them both equally? And no, I'm not doing this because I'm not putting this as a tie because I don't want to get roasted in the comments by Godzilla fans or King Kong fans if I pick one over the other. That's not the real case. Okay, maybe it is, but I'm just being honest here. That this is how I truly feel about both these films. None of this is scripted, by the way. This is coming straight from here. I'm being honest when I say what I think about these two films. They're both iconic, and they still hold up to this day. Yeah, it honestly does. So yeah. So next episode we'll be covering Sherlock Holmes versus the Gentleman, which is funny enough directed by a guy. But more importantly, there's going to be a slight change in the release schedule going forward. Instead of it being 2 weeks now, it's actually going to be 1 week per episode. Mostly because, like personal reasons. That's why I had to put it for a week, 1 week ahead, which is honestly good for me, I guess. So that way I can like give you my thoughts and opinions on this. But I also have to put double the work on it now. So that's just great. But anyway, stay tuned for next week's episode for Sherlock Holmes versus the Gentleman. And you can probably guess why I picked Godzilla versus King Kong. Well, it's because Godzilla X Kong is currently in theaters right now. I saw it twice. I loved it. It's the perfect turn your brain off kind of film. Highly recommend you check this out. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, that's it for now. Thank you so much for watching. Which movie did you like better? Comment below. Please hit the like button and subscribe for more. Hit the bell notifications for when we upload. Also, go follow us on Twitch at Crypto Arts Gaming, and go follow Captain Nemo Gaming 425 on Twitch as well. That guy has been a massive supporter on both YouTube and Twitch as well. He's a really good friend, so please go check him out. He's an awesome dude. So anyway, that's it for now. I hope you all have a pleasant day, evening. I'll see you next week. Take care, everybody.